What's going on, my PT peeps, my Walking Dead family, and my fighters? I'm One Eyebrow, also known as PT. Don't know if I'm winking or blinking, but I'm definitely thinking about Dead City Season 1, Episode 3. We're going to review, recap, breakdown, discuss a bunch of different things we liked, loved, thought were cheesy. This episode had it all. Spoiler warning for all things Dead City, obviously, in the Walking Dead universe. But like I said, this episode had good moments, funny moments, callbacks, flashbacks, cheesy moments. It had it all. But it starts with Ginny walking in the woods looking for her dinosaur stuffed animal. This walker is on a wooden stake and it's stuck there. It's kind of got the jump scare. They love to do that with walkers on this show and really in the Walking Dead universe. But Negan comes along and kills the walker, and Negan is pissed because he's like, look, you need to talk because I don't hear you scream that you need help. I can't help you. You've been sticking with me since we met. If you need help, you need to let me know. So he cares for Ginny already. We see that. And that's consistent with the Negan character. Negan takes the bag from this guy that evidently robbed them and was going to kill them before. But Ginny makes it to the same area that Maggie saw here from the dirt bike. She drops the dirt bike and then the motor just turns off. That wouldn't happen. But Ginny looks around what to do, how to make it across the water. And cue Fear the Walking Dead cheesy moment. She finds this cooler. Yes, this cooler that she sits in, takes a board and goes across the water that way. If this isn't Fear the Walking Dead, I don't know what is, but it's just kind of laughable, and either way, she makes it to the city. We see a deer, and this CGI deer looks much better than previous CGI deers, and that's kind of the running joke with the Walking Dead universe, like they can't make a CGI deer. The CGI budget is huge for this show, I'm guessing, because they film in New Jersey, and they're calling it New York, but we see Tommaso and this lady here hunting the deer, and they get the deer for food, and it's kind of interesting. It's like an I Am Legend type moment. There's going to be deer and animals probably all over New York City, but we see that she was using the antlers to attract the deer, like a mating call. Tommaso stands up, shoots the deer with this weapon, and then they got some venison. They go into what looks to be a store, like a small little store. Negan rings the bell. Luther is butchering, cutting up the deer, and it's interesting because we see a bunch of blood and guts coming out the deer. Luther puts on beeswax for his cut. They zoom in on his hands. Is it foreshadowing? Does this connect with the Red Theory? I don't know, but Luther dies later on in the episode. But we see that Luther does not want to give the beeswax to Negan. He does not trust him. Maggie is worried about what they're saying. Tommaso, and I'm blanking on this woman's name. But either way, they're talking about where to go, how to get into Madison Square Garden, where he is, where they're held up. Maggie freaks out, leaves, has a breakdown, goes into the bathroom, and tries to catch her breath. Ginny makes it across the Hudson River and makes it into New York on the cooler. The CGI of New York City looks great. Every time we see it, they did a great job. And Ginny is in New York, the Big Apple. So then we get to see where the Croat is held up inside Madison Square Garden with all the walkers, or fleshies. Is a new term now, so we have yet another name for walkers. We see a float that's going around attracting the walkers towards Madison Square Garden. I guess someone is driving that with a turkey on top. I can't help but laugh. Negan's one-liners are pretty funny. Maggie looks on. She's worried about Herschel, obviously. Negan jokes, the parade is looking a little rough this year. And I just love this guy's one-liners. He's the funniest guy in the Walking Dead universe right now. But Maggie, Negan, and the Tribe, I guess this group is called the Tribe, looks on what to do as they have to get inside. They don't make it inside or really have any attempt to go there, but they see cars and vehicles go towards Madison Square Garden. They drive right through the walkers. They get in there with 3 vehicles, one of them being an ambulance. We got more backstory about the Croat being a scientist. He can make fuel from walkers or fleshies or whatever they call them. They can actually make fuel that can be used to drive these vehicles, and it's kind of cool. It's a cool concept that the Croat was a scientist and he knows how to use things for alternative energy. He's got one of the weapons there that the Tribe uses, and they bring in Armstrong. He's their prisoner now. Armstrong is going to have a test, basically give the Croat some information, but he doesn't do anything until the end of the episode. The breakdown of walkers is interesting because they're actually using them as a fuel source, which is pretty cool. We see Armstrong is in one of the press boxes inside supposedly Madison Square Garden, even though it's definitely not. But they have a nice setup there in one of the, like I said, boxes. They look on, we see an octagon, we see some RVs, we see people with weapons, and then we go back to the tribe that's held up in one of these buildings. They talk about what to do. Tommaso was a prisoner, obviously, from Croat. He escaped, he was tortured, he didn't give up any information, but he made it out because he knew about the other tunnels that he could actually escape from his grandpa. We see Luther looks on, doesn't really trust this whole thing. He doesn't want to go along with the plan. Luther's basically being a dick the whole time, and he's saying that Herschel's already dead. You know that. Maggie doesn't like that. Negan steps up and protects Maggie. Then we go to Armstrong back in the, box seat suite area of Madison Square Garden. Croat comes in. Another guy brings in food for the meeting of Croat and Armstrong. Croat turns on a heat lamp, and it's like the Croat is putting on a show, like he learned from Negan. And he references that too, that Negan was the person that he was working with before. I mean, he doesn't say that, but we put two and two together. As Armstrong looks on, he doesn't say anything for a bulk of the episode here. He's not going to give up any information until later. He sees that he's a New Babylon Marshal. So Croat says, let's talk. You give me information. You can be a part of things here, but I can't make you a part of things here until I know you're not a threat. You're not going to do something for us. Like, what are you doing here? It's weird that you came to the city. So again, Armstrong doesn't say anything. So the entire time the Croat is putting on a show, just like Negan. He takes out the key that can free Armstrong and he says, look, you help me and I can help you. So he takes off the cover of the food, and as he looks at it, he doesn't really think anything of it for a couple seconds, but he checks out the meat, and the meat is rotten. And all I kept thinking about was tainted meat. I know he says it's rotten meat, and it's not the same as Bob, but that's what I thought about here. But he looks on there, and we see one maggot in there. There'd probably be a couple more than that, but I guess they had a budget for one maggot. So this pisses the Croat off, and he's like, people can get sick for this and die. This is a major problem. So this guy's like, oh, crap. Was it me? No, it wasn't me. But Croat doesn't care. This dude is here, so this guy's going to die. That's for sure. So the Croat takes the key to the handcuffs and puts it in this guy's mouth, which is pretty weird. But it comes back later on in the episode. Everything comes back around in the episode. It's kind of weird, and you're questioning, like, why is that happening? But the Croat puts the key in his mouth, turns him around, bam, 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 smacks him against the pole here and ends up killing the guy. The guy becomes a walker later on. That goes against Armstrong in the octagon. More on that later though, for sure. But Croat is just like Negan, and we see it here. Then we go back to Maggie in this bar restaurant thing, and she's looking at the stuff in her bag. And we get to see what's in the tin. Esther wanted to take this, and Maggie said no. So she's got pictures in there. We see the Green family. We don't really see Beth. We do see Herschel and her dad Herschel, and also young Herschel, her son. So it's kind of a cool thing. You see Herschel and Maggie there. Good picture. It would be cool to see Beth. But we see a younger Maggie and a baby child, Herschel, her son. And then she takes out a drawing. But before that, she takes out the pocket watch. So I'm guessing that was Herschel. So nice callbacks, all the good stuff there. And then we see the picture of Glenn. Not sure who drew this. I doubt her son Herschel drew this, but you never know. Maybe it was Jadis, maybe it was someone else, but it's a good portrait of Glenn. Negan comes over with a hat that he says that he can give to Herschel when they find him. He knows that, he used to wear hats and he likes to wear hats. So it would be a nice thing. And also reassuring that Negan's not going to stop helping Maggie. They're going to find Herschel. Maggie tells the story of when the Croat came. She had a fight with Herschel. Herschel didn't want to listen to her, and it's kind of tough to be a single parent, and Maggie is. Then we get to find out some stuff about Annie and Negan. So a few years ago, we hear stuff that happened with Joshua, Annie, and Negan, I guess, their son. So I guess they're still alive. So we finally get answers about Annie and Joshua. We were living in a little cabin outside of New Babylon. One day, Annie decided to go into town. It didn't work out well for Annie. To do some trading. So she was just going to, shop basically. And Negan wasn't there with her. When she wasn't home at nightfall, that was a problem. It's a zombie apocalypse. That's never good. Negan knew something was wrong. And Negan being Negan, he's going to protect his wife and his family. He's a protector. He went looking for her and he found her. Luckily, she was alive. So she'd been robbed and beaten and, basically tore up. and not, just not good. So she had been robbed, beaten, and she begged him not to do anything stupid, but Negan being Negan, that's not going to work. So he found the 5 guys that beat up Annie, which is crazy. And this is like outside New Babylon, which is supposed to be order, I guess, right? Or is there only such jurisdiction there? Found him in some drinking hole, and he didn't want to kill him, but I guess he did. And, that's going to be some problems there too. And that put them on the run. It was very hard on Annie and I guess Joshua and Negan. So he put them on a wagon train to Missouri. I hear Missouri's nice. So, and he said that he's right behind them, but he stays and he doesn't leave. Then he doesn't go find them. He thinks about them every single day and he worries about them, obviously. And he hopes to God that they're okay. Will we see them at the end of the season or next season? Not sure, but we finally get answers about Annie and Joshua and Negan. Then we see Ginny in the city with all these walkers, like a ton of walkers. But as she's, in the city, a walker almost grabs her leg and tries to bite her, but she falls and goes down. And as she goes down, she drops her dinosaur stuffed animal. So there's a lot of stuff with this dinosaur stuffed animal in this episode. See right there, she drops it and then she goes to hide by a pillar. And as she's hiding, the walker is there looking at her. The dinosaur toy is next to the walker. And then we have another flashback with Negan and Ginny. And I have to say the flashbacks are okay. The fact that Ginny doesn't talk is kind of annoying. Like, it's not the biggest deal, but it's like, come on. I don't really like that in shows and movies. Like, come on, talk and communicate. It's essential in life. It should be essential on the show. And then we see this person turns out to be a woman that is part of the tribe. She knows Tommaso and that group. She kills the walker with a ski pole, I'm guessing. And she picks up the dinosaur, puts it in the bag. Ginny sees this and Ginny follows her. At first, I'm like, how did Ginny find Maggie and everything? At the end of the episode, we see them in the same alleyway. But like I said, Ginny follows this woman and it connects the dots. Again, another great shot of the CGI city that is New York City. Then we're here inside the restaurant and I guess the deer is done and ready for food. Do they have some stew? Or I guess it's stew. But at the table, it's a nice little moment that the tribe honors the fallen people that they've lost. Again, I'm blanking on this woman's name, but she holds up an item that belonged to someone else, I'm guessing. Luther holds up a lighter, and Tommaso holds up the necklace that I believe belonged to Esther. It's the Hebrew symbol for life, and the table goes around with their own items. Negan and Maggie don't put anything down, but Luther starts to do this humming chant type of thing, and then it's a transition from the table to the octagon with the Croat, and the Croat says, "People are a resource." So we got that from Negan. That's the name of the episode. We thought Negan would say that in the episode, but it's actually the Croat. So Maggie thinks about putting the picture of Glenn down. She doesn't do it, but she takes it out of her pocket and wants to join in and be a part of the group, but she doesn't do it. Luther is doing his humming thing, and then he stops, and then they start to eat, and Luther attacks the bowl, man. He's in there. He's getting in that bowl. He's like, yeah, I'm starving, man. Then we go back to the octagon, and these people are sucking down some methane, getting high, and then they bring out Armstrong. So Armstrong is going to be put in the octagon, and this is basically a test from the Croat. So the Croat says, look, do you have anything to say? We can stop this, but Armstrong, again, doesn't say anything. So the Croat puts the gas mask thing over Armstrong's face. Reminds me a little bit of Madison with her oxygen tank. It's very different because this is methane and not oxygen. But Armstrong is under the influence of the methane when he's put into the octagon to fight a walker and then a couple walkers. But it's kind of like a show. It's like, here you go, guys. Here's some entertainment for you. But again, like I said, Armstrong is under the influence. He gets handcuffed to the pole. Well, it's around his wrists with the pole there. You can see how he's positioned there. But the walker that comes in is the walker that was just killed up in the box suites or seats there too. So the key is inside this guy. So we see Armstrong, goes around the pole and he, defends himself. And then he gets the upper hand on the walker, or fleshy as they're calling it here. And he decapitates the walker with the handcuff chain, which would be ridiculously hard to do, especially with a freshly turned walker that is probably minutes, maybe hours old. But like I said, he decapitates the walker, which is kind of cheese in my opinion, but it fits the story here for what happens in the episode. The body falls to the ground. The people are pissed because they wanted blood. And we see, I'm guessing this is the NAFC, so North American Fighting Championship, I guess. So they throw the bottles, good walker CGI head or fleshy head. There, they throw bottles into the octagon. Armstrong grabs a bottle, a broken bottle, cuts into the walker's stomach, and is like, oh, I got to get this key out. So it's wishful thinking that the key would already been down into his guts. I guess it's more into his colon or small intestine than his stomach. But like I said, Armstrong cuts into the stomach and goes through the guts. Croat looks on like, this guy's pretty good. So we see that he's going through the guts and he's trying to find things. And he actually finds the key in there, which is pretty hilarious. He undoes the handcuffs. The Croat's people put in a couple more walkers, and Armstrong defends himself. And as he's doing that, he's trying to take off one of his boots, but he doesn't want to take off his left boot because the note from his brother is in there. The Croat sees that something's up with his boot as he doesn't want to take it off. So that sparks the interest of the Croat and Armstrong. So Armstrong takes off his other boot and beats up the other walkers with it. Why didn't you just use kicks? He could have just kept the boot on, but he punches the walker with the boot in his hand instead of stomping on the walker. But either way, he takes out the walkers easily and he's safe for another day. So the action sequence is kind of funny, kind of cheesy, kind of action-packed. But either way, the Croat is interested in Armstrong and what he has to do there. And the Croat is going to go back up to the suite and interrogate him some more. But now we go back to the restaurant with Maggie and Tommaso, and people are wondering, is this going to be a love interest with Tommaso and Maggie? I don't know, but you never know. Then we see this lady come that took the dinosaur stuffed animal. They have some jokes here, and they're basically, this lady combs the streets, and there's probably a scout and a scavenger. We see the dinosaur stuffed animal there. Maggie wonders where she got that, and the lady's like, in the street, obviously, duh. But Maggie doesn't know, like, why would Ginny actually be here? She's supposed to be at Hilltop or whatever they're calling that new community. Maggie is given the stuffed animal by the lady. Then we go back to MSG, where Armstrong and Croat are going to have more conversation, and this is where Armstrong tells the Croat that he's there for Negan, and Armstrong is basically interrogated. The guy puts a knife to his neck. They take his boot off, and we find about the note is from his brother, I'm guessing, because that's what the return address was from that we saw Armstrong showed before. And it's probably the last note in correspondence that Armstrong had with his brother, but it sounded like his brother was giving up, and I think he was addicted to drugs and he was too weak, he said in it. Then we go to Negan inside the kitchen here, and he finds a cheese grater, which is used as a weapon here. And I have to say, Negan is carrying the show. Every episode so far, it's been the Negan show. Maggie doesn't really do much in the show so far, in my opinion. It just connected with Herschel. But Luther sneaks up on Negan inside the kitchen. And Luther says, look, you guys need to leave. And this isn't you, right? Yeah, no, this is you. You got the wanted poster. And he reads it to him and says, yeah, you and Maggie need to leave. And Negan's not going to do that because Luther doesn't want to go along with the plan to go into MSG and try to save Herschel. But Negan, being Negan, he defends himself. So I'm sure some people will be like, Luther would destroy Negan. But Negan is crafty and a badass. And Negan swings a pan at him. Luther does the bear hug, which is a risky, maneuver. And Negan rakes him across the face with the cheese grater. He grates his face with the cheese grater. And he just cuts him open. That causes Luther to drop Negan. And Negan, pushes him down. But either way, Luther falls back onto an exposed line or copper pipe or some sort of metal that goes into Luther's skull, and Luther dies. I got a comment about the red box with the arrow down. Red theories there, but no, just highlighting things there. I had to point it out. But Negan steps over Luther and pushes Luther's head down into the metal there. So basically killing him, making sure he doesn't get up. Not sure how Luther's death is going to be explained to Tommaso and the tribe, but Negan, being Negan, steps up, takes out Luther. I guess by accident Luther fell backwards, but Negan kills him And Negan looks down at his left hand like blood is on his hands or he opened up the wound again. But either way, Negan takes out Luther. Then we go to the alleyway where we're going to see Maggie and Ginny in this same alleyway. So Ginny is behind the car looking at the trash can that Maggie comes out of the side door. She puts the dinosaur stuffed animal in the trash can and she's going to burn it because she doesn't want to show Negan that Ginny is here and in trouble because she needs Negan's help. Maggie's in a tough situation because she doesn't like Negan, but she needs his help. So she's trying to take out any distractions. We don't see Maggie burn the dinosaur toy, but we see another flashback of Negan talking to Ginny. So Negan takes off his hat and says, look, did you check your bag? It might not even be in there. It could be in the bag when this guy robbed us. It turns out that it is. He takes out the dinosaur stuffed animal. It's got the bottom tore up. Negan does surgery on it, does a wrap around it, covers it up. And he's like a dad. He does what he needs to be done here to fix the dinosaur stuffed animal. And he says it's successful surgery. Ginny's happy. Negan is happy. And Negan says, look, if you're not going to talk, then whistle. My wife Lucille whistled like this when she couldn't do much. If you can whistle, Ginny whistles. It's a nice moment between the two. And then Negan and Ginny set up communication going forward. And it's a nice moment. And again, we see the softer side of Negan. Again, the redemption story continues. So we see Ginny looking on and she sees Maggie light a match and Maggie's about to burn the dinosaur stuffed animal, but we don't see that. And that's how the episode ends. So overall, it's got everything in an episode you need. Funny moments, action moments, sincere, nice moments, also some cheese. But overall, let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. A like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys. We truly appreciate all love and support. We're working hard on making Walking Dead videos. We are enjoying Dead City. Hopefully you are too. We're going to be talking about other shows and movies. If there's anything you want me to cover or I should check out, please let me know in the comments. Either way, stay safe. And as always, tell them Daryl.
Yo, we love